Now we have another guest in the studio with us. Now, Mary Noonan doesn't claim to be from Killanena, but
No.
Mary, you told me as you were growing up you had a perfect view of Mara, is that right?
That's right, yeah. I'm a Galwegian by birth, and I lived down the valley, on the lowlands down near Lough Cutra, and we absolutely had perfect reception, unlike our neighbours in Fermara. My father used to, actually, I would say, almost boast about it when people would come in. He'd always make a point of turning on the telly and showing them this amazing, it was almost like 3D for us. It was so, the reception was so brilliant, and the sound was so brilliant. So we were removed enough, I guess, and we had a perfect line of vision to the mast, which always fascinated us as small children. I was born the last day of the 50s. So I was quite small, obviously, when the mast was being built. But I can remember my father had worked in the planting of the forestry.
Yeah, you mentioned that,
Yeah. Now, I don't know when that was, but it was one of the first maybe might have been the second planting of a feeling. And he talked about, insofar as I can remember it now, he talked actually about, about the lads walking from the valley in Killanena at the back of the church there, Pat, and walking up I think it's 3 miles actually, Pat, up across the hills. He used to walk up to work was it Tom Maroney, and some more of the local men there, and they were all such great characters. My father loved all the characters in that area. He was a bit of a character himself, actually, and he really enjoyed his working there. It was hard work, of course.
It was hard work, I'm sure, and it must have had a great draw for you, Mary, because you ended up getting closer
with no coverage in car.
No coverage at all in car, no. And the funny thing was, I met the man from Killanena while I was in Dublin, so that's really funny. Yes, that's right. I'm here 37 years, and I suppose I feel I have almost merited being called local at this stage, almost.
And of course you were principal of Drumandura School for many years.
I was, and I was 29 years the principal, but I had already worked there a year when I was younger, so all in all I worked 30 years there. And and I suppose for me, I remember Marion and the girls going to school. Marion was a year ahead of me, if I remember right, and her sister was a year behind me, and we on Saturday morning, that time there was school on Saturday morning, believe it or not. So those of us who went to the convent or the boys' school, the college, took the bus on a Saturday morning, which meant that we didn't have to go to Tubber, we went to Killanena. And we were always fascinated by how the bus driver could turn the bus at the steepest place up at the ground. We always imagined he was going to go straight in over that wall at the bridge.
Was that Philip Flanagan?
I suppose it was actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many's the time he left us standing? After walking the 2 miles.
So we got to know some of the Killanena boys and girls at that time, and I suppose when I came to the school in 1990, then I was. It all came back to me when I was reading Martin's book, which I think is an absolutely gorgeous book. Oh my God, it's so beautifully written. But in the early chapters, particularly where he talks, there's an absolutely, it just oozes through the book, a kind of an innocence, and a sense of the magic that he felt living where he did.
And that comes across even when he's talking about it.
He's portrayed that so well.
And I mean that, he was in awe all the time of his surroundings, and I think that came through in the sort of his mystical sort of view of life in general, and he's almost like a seer, I often think, Martin is. He's such a
Mary,
spiritual
I'm
view.
fascinated also by your interest in all the historic sites.
I'm
So
very
tell us
interested in
about
it.
that.
Okay.
And actually, Marion mentioned several of them. Do you know her piece?
Yes, I heard it. Yeah. Oh no, I heard all the program earlier. Yeah. No. So I suppose I was aware. Marion and I were involved many years ago now in setting up the East Clare Way. It actually started in my kitchen with Marion and myself.
All right.
The whole project started off there, and then we got all the different people involved, and as part of that, of course, we became aware of a number of ancient sites that Marion alluded to, like Ballycrown.
Yes, you did, yeah.
But actually, what I hadn't realised is there was a huge number of them in the Killanena and Corbeha and Feha area. And so, since I've retired, now I was always aware of a couple of them because they're well documented, which is in Corbeha, there's a very ancient 4,500-year-old wedge tomb. But interestingly, in the valley that I was talking about, there's a beautiful glacial valley that goes up at the back of the church in Killanena, right up to Murra. 25 years ago, there were 3 very significant ancient monuments found there. One of them is the Giant's Grave, which was found by. I have his name here now. He's actually married to one of the Brother girls, and he found 2 of them actually. And then last year, I myself was working on something that I'm interested in. Reading the landscape course, and as part of that, I was interviewing lots of different local people, and one of the people who's very well known really as a character, as a musician, as lots of other things, is Pat O'Neill. And on his land there's several monuments, and one of which is a hugely significant one. I'm only dying for some archaeologist or someone to come and explore it. So there's a Tri-Valid fort on his land, which is like, so it's okay. So Mahon Fort.
Yes.
Yeah, Mahon Fort is it's a huge Bronze Age site, and this is not anything as big, but it is equally significant in some ways, because it was, rather than many of the forts, were just maybe medieval farmsteads, but some of them were of ceremonial value.
Yes.
And a woman called Zina Hoctor, who was over our course, she was very excited by it because she felt it was definitely Bronze Age, and that it was more than likely a huge ceremonial place for a gathering, like an Éanach. And then, of course, when you think about the name Kill on Nachan Éanig and Kill on Éanig, it means the hill of the Éanach, and later became, of course, just a cattle fair. But I would say originally was an ancient gathering place. The Éanach was a huge festival in ancient Ireland, and so there are 2 place names right beside each other, both of which are very high on the hill, Knockanena and Killanena. And I'm really of the opinion, of course obviously I have to do a lot more work on it, that this actually was an ancient, because when you're up on that hill you can see 6 of the other forts. There's intervisibility between the hill forts. You can see Liss, you can see Glountoohil, Knockanena, Corbeha, the 5th one now has gone out of my head, and there's intervisibility between these forts, and that just didn't happen by accident.
No,
I feel.
Can I ask you? Sorry, can I ask you, Mary? Like, how do people access them? Are they on private land? How does that work? Like,
no, it doesn't actually at the moment.
Okay, fair enough.
And in fairness now to the different people that I spoke to in that area, they were really, really very generous and allowed me to go in. So I have to say that it is on private land, and you cannot go in without permission. And people, in fairness, it's people's workplace.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And another. Right across from the school in Drumandura, there's a little boreen that goes right up the hill, up to Corbeha, and that's where the Corbeha wedge tomb is. But a couple of fields away from that, and I had never seen this in my 30 years, but I saw it last year, there's a huge slab of rock with very intricate carvings, and that go back probably to, well, there's 2 theories on it. One is that that there was a monastic site in Feha, which we know about, but they may not have been, that we're talking about the early years of the Christian church, and it may have been a Coptic, what they call a Coptic church. That's just a theory. So, and because some of the symbols on this rock are similar to, what are found in Coptic drawings, and/or that they were, that it was maybe some kind of a slab for the penal mass. It's on the ground now, and that there was a kind of a map on it, and it was a way of showing people. Maybe it was some kind of a coded message during penal times when we know that the church in Feha, that a priest was ordained there, a McGowan man, a local man, by Blessed Oliver Plunkett. Well, he's St. Oliver Plunkett now, isn't he? He was Bishop Oliver Plunkett at the time.
Are most of these sites, are they documented? I mean,
some
are
of them are, yeah. Sorry, Mary was going
No,
to say
I just am interested about the whole thing because going back even further, we say Paul's the Lys.
Yeah, that's what they're the forts, of course.
Yeah, but okay, so Lys. So the Lys itself, where was at the top of Rogers's.
Yes.
And so that had. Again, it had the 6. You see, there's 7 is a magic number, really, isn't it?
Yes, yeah,
They had
yeah.
the 6 Lachines.
Yes,
and
around
you know,
them.
Patrick, you know where some of the Lachines are. Well, I only know about 3 of them now at this stage. But there was the Lachines, and the one I'm thinking of particularly is...
A Lys being a small fort, like.
Yeah, but it's amazing. It's intact. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
you feel there, and it's intact, and the feel of it. But it isn't just that. It's that when we were growing up, and I'm sure the marks are still there, that there was linking directly back to Deirdre and
Grania,
Grania and
Grania.
Nisha and all that what they called the footprint, the horse's print.
Yeah.
That there was one in Derrybrine, there was one in Lys.
Oh,
the
St.
big flats
St.
going
Patrick's
above in
footprint,
the-
was it?
No, this was
The horse.
No, this is going back further.
Oh, yeah,
This
okay.
was going back to the Fina
Right.
and to the thing, and a corresponding one in Ballacrown
Yes.
on top of on one of the rocks there.
Yeah.
And like you described the Coptic writing to a certain extent, which would be a later.
Oh, yeah,
later
yeah,
time
it was,
again.
yeah.
But it's just interesting to think that these sites, they're not just linked. They're linked to ancient history.
Very ancient.
They're linked to, and I know you're talking about. We talk about the fairies and the strays and going back to that.
Yeah.
But these are actual physical links to
Yeah.
the Fina and to
And
the.
the O'Curry and O'Donovan, you know, the
Yes,
antiquarians, when they were documenting the very ancient monuments we were talking about, going back 7,000 years. A couple of things that were interesting about the area. One was they referred to the area as the area of Green, the district of Green, meaning the sun.
Yes.
And a number of symbols, including the ones they're like cup marks that you can see on the rocks up at the Giant's Grave in the valley I'm talking about, and there has been another find as well. I'm not quite sure where it is, where there are a number of sun symbols very similar to what's been found in Newgrange, has been found in the area, and these. So that would suggest like that there was a very organised and ancient civilization there, because you know. The area is even called like the Lake of the Sun, you know, and there's a lot of things, Derry, Grania, and of course in the whole mythological story about how Grania, you know, when Diarmid was killed on the edge of the lake, that's all documented, the mythology of it. But certainly my own husband found in 1993, he found 3 stone axes close to a kind of a wet area near our little river. We're very close to Lough Graney, and our river flows into it. And then 2 years ago, we found 2 more. So we found 5 axes, or one of them is a kind of a hammer-like thing, and they've been dated at about 6,500 years.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of history, ancient history in the area, and I can't wait for it to be sort of discovered.
And we're barely touching the surface of it
Yeah.
today, Mary. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming in and sharing it with us.
But Mary's very talented, though. We know
Oh, yeah,
we know of other
yes,
talents.
I'm going to come to that now in a minute. She's a great musician.
No, I'm
and
not.
she's
I
very
am not a
forward.
great musician, first and
Well,
foremost.
you're a lovely singer. Anyway, yeah. So
Martin
I
Hayes is the
won't
great
embarrass
musician.
you any further, but we have a piece on we've recorded it already, of you singing. So we're looking forward to that, Mary, and thank you so much for coming in and sharing all that
Thank you,
great
Geraldine.
knowledge. I have to go back to school.
Yeah, me too.
Agremen down the village, I hear than more. Kong out to sneehans coming to Sabo. O bimsha erne gailcha. Gas ma bhuachal im chór agus tóg sé siúd méise eisiúnio. Níl far am im caiiteach Níl sé hir nas nó Ach si rólan isca Og am in exlo Ba isca Cas fianta Eg na naite Da vainse cead ainis Nu raircer an gron Sas neg a leihin mar a leihin Shamrock Trí knach is trí ailte Trí glianta Agus siw